Hi everyone, I'm Jess Lavin. I'm MassBike's communications coordinator, and today we're going to be talking about our Lights Brigade program. We're so excited to have you with us, and we hope that some of you will host some Lights Brigade events. One of the goals of this presentation is to hopefully decrease the barrier to entry to hosting events, because in past years we've had a lot of people who wanted to just volunteer and not host, and unfortunately there aren't hosts in all the communities where people want to volunteer. So my goal here is to help shed some light on the hosting responsibilities, and help people brighten up cyclists in their communities. Okay, so what's Lights Brigade? Lights Brigade is MassBike's program where volunteers like you all go out into your communities and distribute sets of free bike lights. It's a really great opportunity to engage with your local community, and that's one of the program goals. So the goals here are to decrease the barrier to obtaining bike lights. Some people in our communities, even the $10, $20 to get a set of lights can be a barrier to access. We want to reduce that barrier. We want to provide education about bike lights. Not everyone realizes that it's the law to have them. And we also want to help cyclists ride safer and legally when riding at night or when it's dark outside. I don't know about you, but I've been noticing that the early mornings are seeming equally as dark as the night right now. As the days get shorter here in Massachusetts, there's even more time where a cyclist is going to be riding when it's dark. So we want to make sure they're riding lit. And as I said, this also provides an opportunity for advocates like yourself to engage with local riders. This is a great touch point, not only to just give them people lights, but kind of hear how things are going when they're biking out in your community. And my did you know that front white lights, rear red light, and a rear red reflector is now law in Massachusetts? That's something we're hoping that our Lights Brigade volunteers will be able to help spread that word in their communities. Okay, and this is my small fundraising pitch. And after this, I promise no more fundraising pitch. But in order to provide these lights for free to people, MassBike does fundraise for these lights. Our program depends on advocates like you all and people, very generous individuals across the Commonwealth. It costs MassBike about $10 to distribute one set of bike lights between administering the program, shipping the lights out, and then purchasing the lights themselves. In each season, we do host regional fundraisers where folks can put money towards lights that go in their community. But we can't give the lights to your community unless someone steps up to host. We've been super fortunate in the past couple of years where we have been able to get at least one distribution event in every region across the state, which is really exciting. But we're hoping to get more of that regional spread. So massbike.org/Lights Brigade is our fundraising page, and it's also the landing page for all the volunteer stuff that I'm about to talk about next. Awesome. Okay, so how do you volunteer for Lights Brigade? You're here, you're in, you're ready to volunteer. So that massbike.org/Lights Brigade. There you'll find a link to our volunteer form. There are two options on the form. One is to host an event, and one is to volunteer to join an event. So step one is to decide whether you want to try to host something or if you want to just join something in your community. And you do that by filling out our volunteer form. Emma, who is on this call right now, is the one who goes through all of those volunteer requests and all of those lights requests. When you fill out this form, if you opt to host, it'll have a whole set of questions about where you would like the lights to be shipped, how many lights you want, if you want any 4-foot passing stickers. That's something we are giving this year in 2023. And then if you just want to volunteer in your community, you get to skip all those questions because they don't apply. and it brings you right to telling us where you're located so that we can match you up with an event in your community if there's one nearby. And if you have any questions about the form itself, something about it's confusing, please let us know. bikeinfo@massbike.org, and Emma will help you out and make sure that you're on the right track. And something we do try to do is try to get back to you if you filled out the form to host pretty quickly. But those who just sign up to volunteer probably won't hear anything unless we have an event in your community, just because we have so many more of those. Okay. So hosts versus volunteers, I think I made that clear a little bit already, but hosts are the ones who are stepping up saying, I want to plan the event. The host is the one who gets the lights and materials shipped to you, and you're responsible for coordinating with volunteers and communicating with MassBike. These events are very low lift, I would say. They can be as simple as you go out there by yourself if you can't get a couple friends to join you and just distribute lights, or they can get a little more complex, and I'll show some examples of a little more complex light brigades. And then if you just want to volunteer, you're asking to join an event that a host is overseeing. MassBike will give your contact information to the event hosts, and we're asking the host to be the one to reach out. And as I said, there's no guarantee that there will be an event in your area, which is we're trying to shed the light on the hosting process to hopefully get some of these people who just want to volunteer to kind of step up to host. But yeah, so those are the two avenues. And this photo is from a recent Lights Brigade in Cambridge. Cambridge Bike Safety did a great event, and they're doing a whole Lights Brigade program in a couple different avenues right now. So we're really excited to get this photo of them, and they have like a table and everything, but that's not necessary. Okay, so you decided you want to host a Lights Brigade. What does that entail? So you're in charge of deciding the date you want to do your distribution and the location and the time. So in terms of date and time, that's like totally up to you. We usually say that commuting hours are the best to just like catch cyclists, but sometimes people want to hand out lights at an event that's already planned, like a farmer's market. Some people will do the more traditional on the side of the road distribution where you can kind of set your hours. I'm going to talk about that kind of more classic distribution event in a minute. And while a lot of people are doing the commuting hours and when it is dark outside, people need lights all the time. So whatever time or day works best for you is when we want you to do it. In this example here, we had some folks out in Hadley, Massachusetts, out on the rail trail. You can tell it's the middle of the day, but they were still flagging people down and making sure that they had lights for in case they were still out riding when it got dark outside. And in terms of location, again, super up to you. We suggest if you're doing the classic distribution event where you're just handing it out to people riding by, to choose a busy commuting corridor, whether that's a roadway or a bike path, like in this photo, to try to get the most amount of people who are passing by. So once you've determined your date and location, your job as a host is to coordinate with us to receive lights, which is filling out the form that I talked about, and then approving any publicity. So MassBike will help with some publicity stuff, and you just need to let us know that you give it the okay before we post it. And then you're also open to do your own, and I'll talk about that in a second. As a host, you're also that main contact for volunteers. So if you don't have your own volunteers, like for example, Cambridge Bike Safety already has a whole set of volunteers that they work with. So they didn't ask us for any additional. But if you need some volunteers, we will give them from our list if there are any who have signed up in your community. And then the last main responsibility is to report back to MassBike about the event. So as a host, you need to also, I guess I should have put on here, be at the event, but I think that's kind of self-explanatory. You should be there to help make it happen. And then afterwards, you want to report back. And yeah, as I said, send us photos. All the photos that you see in the slideshow were sent to us by volunteers who hosted events across the Commonwealth. So as you can see, these photos are really important to helping us spread the word about this program. So here is an example of a classic street corner distribution. So step 1, determining that date, time, location, and requesting lights. Step 2, recruiting volunteers, whether MassBike sends you some or you have a group of people you generally work with. We say that at least 3 volunteers is recommended. 1 to flag down the riders. Usually holding up a set of lights that's lit is a good way to flag people down. The second volunteer can be in charge of attaching the lights to the bike, and then a third volunteer to take photos, chat with riders about how they're doing, stuff like that. So yeah, 3 we found is kind of optimal because it allows like 1 person to continuously be flagging, 1 person to help with the lights attaching, and a third to kind of document and talk to the riders that you're providing lights for. Step 3 is coordinating with MassBike on the publicity, or if you need extra volunteers. Step 4, show up to your designated location, start flagging down bicyclists, easy peasy. And then step 5 is to let MassBike know how it went. And as I said, send us any photos. Something I really want to note here is that if you're requesting lights, we really need you to make it at least 2 weeks in advance of your event to make sure you receive those lights. And if you think that you can do a lights brigade at a certain day and time and you change your mind, like you're like, oh, actually the week after is going to be better, that's fine. Like if you're not entirely certain when you're putting that date, time, location in the initial form and you just need to update us later, that's okay. We're open to that. We just want you to make sure that you are requesting your lights sooner rather than later so that we can make sure that they're getting to you in time.
Can I jump in for a second about shipping? Also, if you are local to the Boston area, we also recommend, and if you want, to come over and pick up the lights, because I'm in the office a few days a week. So if you're able to, that also helps us out with shipping costs and things like that, if you're able to come by the office. Just want to throw that
And
out.
then you get to chat with Emma. So
exactly.
like,
you can see my face.
Awesome. But yeah, giving us that 2 weeks lead time will allow us for shipping or coordinating with Emma a time to come pick up the lights from her at the Boston office. Awesome. So what do you get when we send you lights? Obviously you get lights, but we also will send you a couple of copies of these Lights Brigade signs we have. You can see it in this photo here, holding up the signs. We like to get our lights recipients with the signs if we can. And then this year, like I said, we have our 4-foot passing like fender stickers, the shiny metallic ones that are very cute. And if you want some of those, we're sending them to you, because along with talking about bike lights, we would love for any help to talk about 4-foot passing with everyone that you encounter when you're giving out lights. Okay, so publicizing your event. You've decided your location, you've decided your time and date, you've already talked to MassBike, we're sending you lights. Now we want to help spread the word, which we fully encourage. While a lot of these like on the street distributions, you're just going to be handing it to people who like did not know you were going to be there, and that's kind of the point. You're giving it to people who are just riding by and need lights. We do like to also try to publicize it, because sometimes people do want to stop by to grab lights, or just letting the community know that this is a thing that's happening, and it helps kind of spread that awareness that bike lights are the law by giving a little publicity to the event. Some things you can do is post on social, create posters if you want to, submit it to your local paper. Some people, as I've said, have combined the lights distributions with a larger event. So Any props to MassBike that you can give when you're giving a Lights Brigade event, we'd appreciate to let more people know about the program. But publicity isn't 100% necessary. Just something you can do. Nice to have, not need to have. And if requested, if you want it, MassBike, meaning me, will create a Facebook event for you. And new this year, we'll add it to our website calendar. So if you haven't checked out our Massachusetts Bike Friendly Events calendar, that's something that came out of our annual Bike Month programming. People really wanted a statewide calendar of events. We've been trying to encourage folks to submit their own events. We will sometimes add events if we see them around, but I'm going to be trying to add our Lights Brigade events to them as well this year, just so that people can see like what's going on around the state and where the lights distributions are happening. Cool. And then your event happened. You handed out all your bike lights. Cyclists in your community are nice and bright now. What do you do afterwards? So basically, you just need to let MassBike know how it went. If you got any photos, please send them our way. And if you do have any lights left over from time to time, maybe it was like drizzly on the day that you meant to hand out lights and like not as many bicyclists went by as you thought, you're welcome to just hold on to those lights and distribute them however you want to. Like if you have enough that you want to do a second event, you can do that. Or I know some people will just keep them in their bag and like hand them out to people as they're riding around. But you don't need to send the lights back to us or anything. Like once we've sent them to you, they are yours to kind of distribute through your community. And we hope that you eventually get them all handed out if they don't all go at your event itself. And I've mentioned this a couple times, but your photos that you're sending are really key to helping us spread the word about this program. I have an example of this social media post I put up. That was a photo from one of our free Lights Brigade events. Really being able to see all the riders who are receiving these lights, it really shows the impact of this program, and it also shows how statewide of an effort this is. I'm really proud of the fact that our Lights Brigade events have spanned all the way from the Berkshires to Cape Cod to the North Shore to Central like all over the map. We've had these events and we're getting riders across Massachusetts, and these photos really help us tell that story. So any photos you can get are super, super appreciated. We'll put them on social media. Sometimes I use them in our emails or on the website. So really appreciate it. Any photos you can get. Or if you want to make video, if you want to take some videos and send them to me, the social media algorithms are loving videos these days, but really optional. Cool. And then my last note is just to make Lights Brigade fun. So like I said, this can be as complicated or as easy as you want. We've had some people who really added some fun flair to their Lights Brigade events. On the left, you see a kind of fun little setup in Malden where they put the lights on top of a bucket that they put on this trailer. They like biked out to their Lights Brigade spot and made a little signage thing, which I thought was so cute. In the Berkshires and Pittsfield, they decided to double up on this campaign, and they went to Goodwill and got a bunch of like reflective t-shirts, like as much like high vis gear as they could find, and they handed that out with the lights to make sure that cyclists were also dressing bright as well as being bright with their lights. And then I really liked this photo of some volunteers in Bedford on the Minuteman. You can see one of the volunteers has a big like lights necklace, and they have like lots of signage. So being bright with your event is fun, but also again, you can add whatever flair you want to the event itself.